Have you ever stood in front of an absolutely breathtaking landscape, or witnessed a perfectly timed moment on a city street, raised your camera, taken the shot, and then looked at the screen only to feel a massive wave of disappointment? The light was there, the subject was there, but the photo just looks flat. It looks chaotic. It looks like a snapshot instead of a photograph. That translation error, the gap between what your eye felt and what the camera captured, isn't a gear problem. It's not about megapixels or lens sharpness. It is a geometry problem. You see, human eyes are lazy. When someone looks at your photograph, their brain wants to be told exactly where to look and why it matters. If you don't give them a roadmap, they will scroll past your image in less than a second. Today, we are building that roadmap. I'm going to show you a simple painter's trick to instantly test if your photo works, and the geometric frameworks that will change how you see the world. And stick around, because I'm also going to show you exactly why centering your subject is usually the fastest way to kill your photo, and the one specific scenario where it's the most powerful thing you can do. I'm Dale Sinclair. Welcome to the North of Wendigo photography path. Today we are fixing chaotic, forgettable photos by mastering the geometry of the frame. We are talking about the rules of composition. Let's start with the foundation. The oldest, most reliable tool in the visual toolkit, the rule of thirds. Imagine your camera's viewfinder is divided by two equally spaced horizontal lines and two equally spaced vertical lines. It looks like a tic-tac-toe board over your image. These lines create four intersecting points. The rule of thirds dictates that you should place the most important elements of your photo, your subject's eye, a lone cabin, a distant mountain peak, along these lines, or ideally, right on one of those four intersecting points. Why? Because placing your subject dead center kills visual tension. When a photo is centered and cluttered, the viewer's eye doesn't know what to do. The eye bounces around, it gets exhausted, they scroll away. But when you place a subject off-center on a third line, you force the viewer's eye to travel deliberately across the image to find the anchor. Look at this landscape. By placing the cabin on the bottom right intersection, we aren't just showing a building. We are telling a story about scale and isolation. Try this right now. Physically squint your eyes at the screen until the image becomes blurry. Even when you remove all the detail, the heavy blocks of light and dark still pull your attention directly to that bottom right corner. That is the geometry working for you. Now, the rule of thirds is your starting line. It is rigid and man-made. Once you master the grid, I want you to start looking for the golden ratio, or the Fibonacci spiral. Instead of a tic-tac-toe board, imagine a fluid curve sweeping through your frame, spiraling tighter until it lands exactly on your subject. This is the geometry of nature: snail shells, fern fronds, and hurricanes. Composing with the golden ratio creates a natural visual vortex, pulling the viewer effortlessly through the frame. Here is the trap. You can follow the grid perfectly and still ruin the shot if you ignore active space. If you place a subject on a third line and they are looking or moving, they must be looking into the empty space of the frame. In this image, the man is on the third line, but looking right into the edge of the picture. It creates immense visual claustrophobia. The viewer feels trapped. Switch him to the opposite line. Now he is looking into the frame. His gaze becomes a vector. The viewer's eye enters the photo, hits the subject, and then follows his line of sight back across the image. The tension is resolved. We have breathing room. Once you know where to put your subject, you need to guide the viewer to them using leading lines. Think of leading lines as geometric highways for the human eye. We naturally lock onto prominent lines, fences, roads, rivers, shadows, and follow them to their vanishing point. In the field, your job is to identify these naturally occurring lines and physically shift your position until those lines point exactly at your subject. But a line that leads nowhere is just a distraction. If you have a massive S-curve highway that leads the eye completely out of the right side of the frame, you have commanded your viewer to look away. Always ask, where does this line terminate? If it isn't on your subject, change your angle. We talk a lot about roads and buildings, but nature is full of geometry. What is the most unique natural leading line you've used? A fallen tree? A ridgeline? Drop it in the comments below. And by the way, if this kind of structural breakdown is clicking for you, make sure you hit subscribe. We are building a complete curriculum here, and you won't want to miss Module 6 when we start shaping light. Our third rule is framing. Photography is the art of translating a three-dimensional world onto a flat screen. How do you make a flat image feel deep? You shoot through things. Instead of walking right up to your subject, take 10 steps back. Find an archway, a doorway, or even just the blurred shoulder of someone standing in the foreground. Use the environment to create a frame within your frame. Framing adds immediate foreground, middle ground, and background layers. For the focus strategy here, use your AFS single point on the subject in the midground. Open your aperture up to create foreground bokeh, melting that front layer into a soft, out-of-focus blur to perfectly separate your layers. And now, we pay off the promise. I told you centering your subject was usually a mistake. The exception is rule number 4, symmetry. When you intentionally ignore the rule of thirds and place a subject flawlessly in the center, you are no longer trying to create a wandering narrative. You are creating power. Symmetry signifies authority and imposing presence. You see this in grand architecture and direct eye contact portraits. But, and this is a massive but, if you are going to use symmetry, it has to be mathematically perfect. If you are off by a few degrees, it won't look like an artistic choice. It will look like a mistake. Turn on the grid in your camera. Align your lens perfectly perpendicular to the subject. Own the center. Here's your field assignment. Go outside and capture 3 distinct images of the exact same subject, say a bicycle leaning against a wall. Image 1. Use the rule of thirds. Put the bike on an intersection point and leave active space. Image 2. Use a leading line. Find a crack in the pavement or a shadow that points directly at the bike. Image 3. Use framing. Shoot through a chain link fence or a gap in a hedge. For mobile shooters, go into your settings and turn on the grid feature. Leave it on forever. Do not crop these in editing. Do not fix it in post. Our professional code is the honest frame. We solve the geometry in the field. Today you learned how to build a roadmap for the human eye. You know how to tell the viewer what matters. But knowing the rules of the grid is only the first step. Right now, you may still be shooting everything from 5.5 feet off the ground. In our next lesson, we are stepping off the X and Y axis and moving into physical space. I'm going to show you how a simple change in perspective can make a subject look heroic, and why embracing massive, terrifying emptiness might be the most powerful compositional choice you can make. I'm Dale Sinclair. Control where the eye goes, and I'll see you on the path.